then I guess we jump right into it. Okay, hey everyone. Once again, welcome back to another episode of the Wano Report. Episode 22. With me today, I once again have my wonderful co-host, Mr. Morj.
Hey everybody.
Awkward silence. And today we are going to talk about a crazy chapter that we got this week after a bit of a dry phase. And also, I guess, since we're slowly moving towards the end of the flashback in general, I guess maybe sum up a little bit what we've gotten so far, especially with Roger. I guess that would be interesting. In general... Oh, yeah. Do you want to say something?
No, I thought you were opening it up for me to say something. You go ahead.
Oh, you can say something.
I don't have anything to say. I thought you were handing it off, so I was like, I have to think of something to say.
Shit, now I have to say something smart. I'm like, yeah.
Roger's pretty cool. All right, yeah, what are you saying?
Just, like, come up with, like, some quotes, like Google.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, time flows.
Oh, yeah, the flow of time. Whatever Roger said in that chapter.
Something like that. No, right. So we're going to get into that. We also got a couple of really nice and interesting questions from you guys. We'll get into that a little bit. We hope we say once again sorry for the audio quality of the last podcast. Even though you guys were okay with it, like we still want to improve that nonetheless. So today again, I don't have to talk like, I don't know, I'm standing in some corner, and Morj also has his mic back. So yay, we're way up.
Way better, yeah.
I can already hear the difference. It's like so crispy. Some ASMR stuff. Right. And as always, like some house cleaning at the beginning, I guess. Thank you so much to Revujo again for a wonderful thumbnail. We're gonna of course get into the entire Toki scar thing a little bit in this podcast. Check him out on Twitter. Also make sure to follow us on Twitter. At Mr. Morjman and at Ohara the Fox. Links are in the description below. Also, my dear friend, Mr. Morj, didn't have the time and capacity to put out some content lately.
Thanks.
But if you...
Time out. Ohara, you haven't put out content in a bit either, for the record. So,
okay,
I don't know why I'm being
videos.
thrown under the bus for no content.
Wait. I put something out this month, okay? I put out the world building thing. Nobody watched that. So watch that if you haven't already. But
that's true, you did put out.
But I did put something out. It didn't get a lot of track though. Right. No, but if you're new to my channel or in general you don't know a lot about Mr. Morj, make sure to check out his channel. He has like some amazing analysis work. It's probably
Thanks.
one of the most, if not the most, intellectual member of the One Piece community.
All right.
So
I don't need that. Thank you. I don't need all that.
No need.
So I will say for people who are waiting at least for more content from me, I will say a rough timeline, 1 month to 2 months, and I'll leave it at that basically.
So I guess like sometime this year.
Yes. We
can expect some content of yours.
Yes, definitely this year. Definitely soon.
For sure.
Yeah. Just don't be waiting for like next week or something like that.
Yeah, dude, I'm excited. Like I wanna see something.
I want to see stuff. I want to make a new video.
Oh, you want to see something as well?
Honestly, you know what the biggest thing is? The biggest time sink for me personally when I make videos is like cutting up all those images, because like editing, I hand it off to a person. I have to cut up all the images for this thing. That adds up to like a few hundred images each time. So like I can write the script and I can record and then hand everything off to the editor. But it's the images part, I'm just like, it's a huge time sink. So I just put it off. So I'll do it soon when I have more time. All right.
That's so interesting.
We can get started, I think. Right?
Yeah. I mean, like, just as a quick response, I guess, because it's like maybe also interesting for people. For me, I guess the most difficult part is almost starting the research process, I guess. And it's like not even the research process itself. It's like starting the research process. And like, I think I already shared that with everyone on the podcast, but like right now I'm writing my thesis. So I'm like finishing my college degree, my master's. So I don't have so much time for like deeper video content, but it's pretty much the same thing, like writing, like doing actual research or doing research for a YouTube video. It's just you always ask yourself, where do you start, right? What direction am I taking this entire thing? And like you maybe have a topic you're interested in, like say I go with like one of my videos would be maybe a character analysis, right? And I say, okay, I know the character I decided on. Now I have to do research. So will I look up everything that character has ever done? Well, if that's a character that hasn't popped up a lot, then maybe I can do that. But if it's like someone else, like one of the main characters, it might not be feasible. So then I'm like, where do I start? And what do I want to lay the focus on in this video? And so I guess once you get that started, that process, and you kind of develop like a sense of where you want to go, then it's like, then you're in the flow, and then you can start writing the script and so on and so forth and structuring everything. But for me, like sitting down like with a blank page and being like, now we have to start making this video, and like that's the hardest part for me by far, I feel.
Dude, I've wondered with you for some, so like you were having for a little bit fan voted next topics and stuff. So for me, for example, I would view that as like a intimidating sort of task or proposition, because like, so Buggy got voted. I still remember that one video where like Whitebeard was winning the fan vote for a bit. I was like, that'll be a cool topic. And then Buggy like turboed into first place, and I was like, ooh, I wonder what Ohara's gonna do with this. So like, I've wondered a few times, like if you don't have an idea for what you want to do with it, or like if it's a character like Buggy, where at least for me on the surface, I assumed that there wasn't that much that you could talk about him, but then you ended up making like a pretty good video, in my opinion, at the end of it. So I can imagine that being like a I don't know if you felt like, oh shit, I got Buggy, like I'm sitting down blank basically and I'm gonna have to go, but at least he only has a certain amount of appearances, so it's not like you have to read massive amounts of the story to catch up with where he's at or whatever.
That is true. I mean, I guess I took it like from, so the thing with Buggy, like I guess why that video turned out to be something in the end, I think there's like a couple of reasons. The first one was, I thought to myself, okay, so there's only so far you can get with, okay, maybe I'm underestimating the internet here, but I personally thought to myself, there's only so far you can get with like a troll comment, right? So I thought, okay, there's actually a reason why people enjoy Buggy as a character. And so I dug into that and actually found reasons why that might be the case, right? Like all these like going from this joke character to like, for like over all these mysterious parts of him being connected to Shanks and then being connected to Roger and so on and so forth. Like I guess that got people's interest, and he's a cool character. And the second part was, I think that was in October last year when both of us were doing this kind of
like a lot
test,
yeah,
like a test run, kind of like what would it be like if we did this kind of
full-time.
like on a more full-time, more regular basis. And so in that context, it was actually it kind of took some pressure off my shoulders, I guess, to get suggestions from fans and like know exactly what I would have to do with a very, very strict time limit, right? Like right now I'm like, I hope I can like create something in the time I have left while I'm not like working on university stuff and so on and so forth. Well, like I'm trying to put stuff out, but I don't really have like pressure on myself, right? But like in that time I was like, I said I finished this till next week, so I kind of have to like start doing something. Yeah,
putting the deadline does help. Like it does help you get that content out right now, because right now I'm sitting with no sort of deadline, so I'm like, I'll get to it at some point, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, I guess like it's a delicate balance, because I think we talked about this, and like that month for both of us was, I think, very rewarding, because we like gained a lot of experience, but also subscribers.
Subs is the tangible. Like I think we both went up about 10K, I want to say, over the course of that month.
Yeah. And it was like tangible and intangible like rewards, like experience and actually views, subscribers, so on and so forth. But at the same time, I think we also talked about that it was nonetheless a very tiring month, because it was so intense in terms of production and planning the next thing, and like still providing the required quality or the standard we have for our own videos. So yeah, I think that was really, really interesting in a lot of ways.
I personally don't see unless I ever go full-time YouTube, I don't see myself doing a month like that again, I think, because that month I personally found myself pushing to put out videos that I wasn't like the big analysis videos I obviously wanted to do, but in between, like if a really hyped chapter came out, maybe I liked the chapter, but I didn't, then I felt obligated to put out like a theory for it or something like that, or like something like that. So I don't see myself doing that ever again. One thing you mentioned that's different between, I guess, the way that you and I approach like the bigger videos is like I guess I don't have to do so like I just take note anytime I think or see something from One Piece or remember something from One Piece or whatever that I like, I just put it into notes. So then if I have like a big stack of notes and stuff like that, and then occasionally I'll like take time to divide that into categories. So like this is about this character or like this arc or this theme or something. So then it's all just there. So then like if I decide to pick a topic, I don't have to go like reading through the manga again. So I can just like open up the folder and then see, okay, this is the stuff that I wrote down. And then I just have to like jumble it together into, I'm like, what does it all turn into in terms of like a coherent video that's about something basically. So it's like different ways to skin a cat or whatever the phrase is.
Is that like, how do you solve that problem for you?
I hate so I'm not saying like, oh, I can just pick a topic and I open up a thing and it's like all written and stuff. So I actually hate the opening part of it as well, because I'm like, oh, let me do world building, for example, because that was the video that I left off on. So then I open up and then I have like a lot of notes on world building, and it's not in like a structured format. So then you have to structure it into like making like this is the point I'm making about One Piece's world building, and then it just takes. That's almost worse, I guess, because like it's taking a lot of stuff and then cutting out some stuff that's like, okay, that's not interesting. This has to fit into this and stuff like that. Then it just becomes its own thing, and then I'm like, and then I get to a point where I'm like, okay, I don't feel like writing this script right now. Let me just close this and leave it alone for a bit. So, yeah.
I guess that's something that helps, though, right? Like,
it does help because I don't forget. Like,
sleeping.
Yeah. Because if you have a good idea about like
Sleeping
a One Piece character or like a theme or an arc or something, and you just think of it, if you put it down, then you don't forget, and it just stacks, and then eventually it makes for like an interesting topic. So yeah. I think. What should we talk about the chapter, or you got anything more you want to say about your creation process?
Let's get into the chapter. Not really. I think like I hope there was an interesting behind the scenes for everyone, but like we don't have to reveal everything.
Oh yeah,
at once. But yeah, like some anecdotes from the daily life of a creator, I guess. Yeah. Let's jump into the chapter. I personally have to say it was almost a bit overwhelming to read. We had a lot of like minor, I wouldn't say minor reveals, rather than major implications, I guess is maybe a better term. Like, because it weren't really, something like that. So yeah, I don't know. It was split in two parts for me. We had like the end of the Roger flashback, kind of the beginning of going back to Wano. I think in my review / retelling, which it almost is of the chapter. I already mentioned that I feel like we've traveled like several layers in this flashback. Like we went from our current timeline in Wano, we went one layer below to Odin, to Wano, and then from there we went one layer deeper to Whitebeard, one layer deeper to Roger. Now we're back at only one layer, where we're back at Wano, basically with Odin. So, yeah, what are your initial thoughts on the entire chapter, I guess, before we get into like the details?
Well, that's a good way to put it for the flashback in general, for sure. Like this has been the most, it's been the most journey of a flashback that we've ever had, basically, and I think it went further than people thought it would in terms of, because I remember talking with you, probably with Brago at some, I think just in general with people or whatever, about how far the Odin flashback would go. And I think most people didn't think we would get in depth into Whitebeard's part of the story and like Roger's part of the story and stuff like that. And I thought that if we did, that this whole thing would take like 30 chapters. But Oda's managed to condense it into whatever. And like the pacing, here or there, I think it could have been slower at points, definitely. I think the first part of Wano should have been slower for sure, but I've really liked the last few chapters, for example. This chapter, I felt like first of all, the two panels I really liked were the Roger departing and then Odin departing, and like, not a single tear was shed. That line. We left with a smile on our face, that line. I really like both those little farewells. This chapter left me with like a lot of questions, I guess, in terms of like, do you know what Roger said to Shanks or what Roger said to Rayleigh? Is it assumed to be basically like because we saw a glimpse of Roger's last words to Rayleigh, like, way back when. Somebody reminded me, I saw on Twitter, like, I ain't gonna die or whatever. But I don't know if that's the same as what he said right then. And what did he say to Shanks? So, right there, questions. And then the second part of it, obviously, with, like, Odin's return and everything like that, that had a lot more. Because it had, like, the Destiny stuff sprinkled in, that I guess we'll get to in a second. And then also, like, now the drama's picking up in Wano as well. Which, you know, I hope we get to stay with that for a little bit longer, at least. Even though I know a lot of people are saying the flashback's about to end.
Right. I guess it comes down a little bit, like, comes down to how extensive Oda wants to go on about the events predating our current timeline. Because I understand, like, I think we, both of us, on multiple occasions said, while we're super happy with the flashback we got, I guess we can say that, we would have, like, enjoyed it if at times there would have been a bit more, it would have been a bit more fleshed out, I guess, you know, here and then. But for the part until now, I kind of understand where Oda's coming from, because as he said, like, he was walking on very thin ice, basically, trying, like, to give us a lot while at the same time not giving us too much.
Almost nothing, if you really think about it.
Almost. Well,
no, he definitely gave us scraps. Yeah. Like, just this chapter.
A lot of food for thought.
Just this chapter alone gave us a lot. Like, it's totally changed my potential view of, like, what one, like, everything, or Luffy's story, basically. Okay, I'll say this really quick then, that, like, I think where he should have taken more time was Odin in Wano round 1. And then the chapters with Whitebeard and Roger were fine as is, because we're just gonna love, like, it's Whitebeard and Roger's stories, like, that's fun to watch. Definitely the last chapter, 967, was, like, one of the coolest chapters to read in, like, a long while.
Definitely. And I hope, I don't expect it to be particularly long from now on, but I at least hope that it doesn't end like next chapter, which I honestly am not so sure if, like, I think it might even happen. Like, I'm not so sure it's gonna be going on for more than one more chapter. I could see it ending next chapter, which I think would be a pity.
Ohara, do you think when you say it ends next chapter, are you saying, like, oh, to be continued, like, we don't see the end of the flashback, or are you saying, like, oh, everything with Kaido and all that stuff happens next chapter?
So that's a bit what I'm afraid
of,
to be honest. But I can see it happen. You know, I can see the next chapter opening with how Orochi survives, basically. Like, I guess we can, like, maybe we can start the chapter, like, in reverse order and just, like,
sure, yeah, I guess that's the way it's going, basically.
Since we're here now, and I mean the chapter's split in two anyway. Somehow.
Yeah, literally.
So. I guess, like, we'll pick out off and, like, see what happens with Orochi and Odin. Basically, either someone's, like, Kaido or someone else or something else stops Odin from cutting down Orochi, or it's actually not Orochi, but, like, the old woman or whatever. Like, it's like a stand-in kind of thing.
Oh shit!
But
maybe it did. Yeah, keep going. Yeah, just had a thought. I'll say it. Yeah.
Hold the thought. But yeah, so, like, to make it short, so you can share your thoughts about that. I can see a scenario where we see that right away in the first page. We see that basically being solved, and then the rest of the chapters basically seeing Odin being captured by Kaido, and then them executing Odin, and then the chapter basically, like, the last panel of the chapter being us being back in the current timeline, like back with the scabbards or something. I don't want that to happen, and I would enjoy if the flashback, like, dragged on for another, like, 2, 3, 4 chapters. But I have a gut feeling that that's very likely not to happen, if you know what I mean.
Okay, I think that doesn't happen. First, I'll say on the Orochi thing before I forget, it's not much of a theory or whatever, but exactly what you just said. Maybe it's the old woman. Because the old woman dies, right? The Mane Mane no Mi, assuming that her fruit is the Mane Mane no Mi, like she said, right?
And assuming that Mr. 2 isn't the old hag.
Okay, I'm also assuming that Mr. 2 is not the old hag. So if we assume those two things, right, then she does die at some point. Maybe it happens now, although that would be kind of abrupt and we don't really learn much about who she is. But I don't know. That would be one way for Orochi to get out. I don't know. Okay, the other thing is, I thought, and I might be wrong because I haven't gone back to read this and stuff like that, but Momo and Hiyori are not old enough right now for that stuff to happen, I think. Like, age-wise, timeline-wise, I don't think we're there, are we? Because timeline-wise, Momo's not 8 years old, I don't think, right now. Momo right now should be the same age as he is in the current story, I think. And Hiyori is supposed to be, I think, like a young girl at this point. Like at the time of the skip, I think she's supposed to be, 6 years old, I think. She's supposed to be 6 years old, I'm pretty sure. So,
I guess you're right.
My belief is that there's no way it ends next chapter because there's a period of time that we have to experience still. So whatever happens right now, if I'm right about ages or whatever, somebody comments correct me if I've got this totally wrong or whatever. But if that's correct, then whatever happens here is not the end of the flashback. So something happens where Orochi survives, and this situation in Wano just stays the same for a few years till Kaido shows up or something like that. So I have no idea what would cause that. The only other possibility is Oda's totally forgotten what he was supposed to do with the ages or something, and Hiyori's randomly too young, and Momonosuke's not 8 years old or something. So that's the other possibility.
Which wouldn't come as a big surprise, I
That
guess.
would, dude, I'd be so upset if that's the case.
No, I'm sure he is. But you're actually right. So, I guess Odin dies pretty much exactly 20 years before our current timeline, right? Because that's when Tokyo, so correct me if I'm wrong, but the events where Odin gets executed and pretty much the same day.
Yeah, I think
the castle gets attacked, right?
Yes. So it should all be in the span of this, basically. And also, they had to run back to the castle, meaning that they're not at the castle. They weren't at the castle when all this happened, so it can't be. So I'm at least fairly confident that the flashback is not just ending next chapter. There's a weird time skip that happens, and I hope that happens because we still don't know much about Shinobu, which I thought we'd get to see a bit of her in the flashback. We don't know much about what's his Fukurokuju.
What's his face?
No, I don't know how to pronounce his full
Fukurokuju?
name. Yeah, it's a complicated name. Fukurokuju.
I think Fukuro is owl.
Oh,
So that's
okay. So
yeah,
wait, how does that? Wait, what's the name then? Is it
Fukurokujo.
okay? Fukurokuju.
Yeah.
I would like to see something about him. Maybe something about Hyogoro. Maybe there's no time to fit that stuff in or whatever, but I do know that we are in Wano, I think. If I got the ages right, we're in Wano for a few more years or something like that. I know that I could montage that, but I don't think the flashback is ending next chapter.
I honestly hope so. I would be sad if it ended next chapter. I really hope you're right. Yeah, you're right. I'm just wondering, now that you mention it, I didn't think about it that way. But now that you mention it, I'm wondering what was Odin up to then for the he attacks Orochi right away and then
It's cut to
actually you know what, let me think. Wasn't Odin actually the shogun for some time?
Odin did he get Shogun?
That's actually a good question. Wasn't he the shogun? Because Momo is the son of the shogun, right? Quote unquote. Wasn't that the premise that we got?
I forget. I don't know if Odin was always referred to as I thought that he was always called daimyo. Odin was a daimyo of Wano. I don't know if he was ever called shogun of Wano, but now I'm not sure. This is a Google question.
But that would be interesting because if he were to be because if he actually were to be shogun, that would make sense because then he would take out. Maybe he thinks he took out Orochi, but actually didn't. Takes over the country, and at some point, Orochi and Kaido replot basically against Odin and take him out together.
But then what takes Kaido so many years? Because then Kaido probably wants
he's
Wano
already there,
bit.
right?
Oh, by the way, do you think there's any chance we get a sort of Kaido flashback within this flashback? Kind of in Law's flashback, I remember we got Doflamingo's flash. I really want to see a Kaido flashback because
we even got a short one for Big Mom, right?
Yes, yeah. So I definitely think Kaido's due for a flashback. I just don't know if it's happening right now. I would be happy if this flashback just stuffs in a lot of stuff as much as possible.
So, I mean, the Big Mom thing. I think we also went far out there and discussed it in quite a bit of detail, and I think it'll probably become relevant again once we see her again in the story. But but just as of right now, I think that Kaido's role is a lot more quote unquote villain like than that of Big Mom. Like, even if Big Mom ends up an enemy that has to be taken down, I still think that Kaido is like the more
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he's the boss. Yeah,
he has more focus, right, as a villain.
He's the boss
than Big Mom, who's a bit more like a confused, not so easily graspable character. Big Mom, but for Kaido, I feel like he's like the typical villain, and he's the villain of the entire New World Saga, kind of the Yonko Saga. So for him, I feel like for me personally, his background story should be at least as extensive as Doflamingo's was.
Oh, for sure. Like, and okay, what I personally like about some One Piece backstory, like, for villains, right? For like a Lucci or a Doflamingo, Lucci had a very short backstory, and so did Doflamingo. Like, Oda helps us understand the villain more and like kind of what they're made of and like really who they are, but he doesn't try and make him too sympathetic. To a degree, if you know what I mean. Like, Lucci's backstory doesn't make him any more sympathetic. It just helps us understand, like, this is what Lucci is. Doflamingo's backstory does, in a way, make him more sympathetic, but we can also see, like, he was always kind of, like, he had a, like, twisted streak to him always. So, like, it's always satisfying at the end of it when we see Luffy beat this guy down, but we understand the villain more. So it fleshes him out without making him, too sympathetic, I guess, which is personally what I like for villains. That's not true. It depends on the case. Like, sometimes I like really complex, sympathetic villains. Not to say One Piece villains aren't, but like sometimes in One Piece, I just want to see like a good beat down of some character I really don't like by the end of the day.
For sure.
Do you want to talk about
No, I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just like as a quick response to that. So I think, for example, Katakuri is maybe good.
Oh, Katakuri is the total opposite of that. Opposite of that.
Because
he was rare.
But then, of course, his role in the story, like, even though while like he's more antagonist than villain.
Yes,
actually,
I don't consider him a villain, like, personally.
Yeah. It's like similar to like Nami or Robin were antagonists but not villains in that sense.
Nami in the vaguest sense was an antagonist. Yeah, she is she was at one point in antagonist.
For like 2 chapters.
Yes, for like a chapter or whatever. And Robin was a cool antagonist for the period of time she was an antagonist.
For sure.
Oh, dude.
Actually,
early Robin was so cool.
Sorry.
Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah. I mean, I still really enjoy Robin, and I also still have the firm belief that she as a character will become more and more important again once we leave Wano and like move towards the end of the story, where she's like the key to finding Raftel. And I honestly don't believe that Oda will be just like, oh, montage, like similar.
No.
The flashback, like montage. No. Robin reading this poneglyph and that poneglyph, and now we know where we have to go. So I think.
That would be
a point.
There's a few fears I have, basically, of like this montage thing keeping up to too much of a degree. Or the one thing I'll say though with Robin, like, as much as I like, the one thing that I don't think Robin can ever get back from, like, she always had a bit of an edge or mystery around her character, or like sort of like when Robin was talking in a scene back in the day, like, it sort of commanded more interest from me. If that makes sense, because like she was a really like an X factor, a mystery. She was a little darker than the other characters and stuff like that. I don't know. That went to like Enies Lobby peaked her character obviously, and I loved her character. She was like my third favorite Straw Hat as of Enies Lobby. Spoilers, she's not my favorite now or whatever, but she was my third favorite after Enies Lobby. But then I think it just dipped from there because it kind of like. She can never have that sort of edge or mystery or aura around her anymore. You know what I mean?
I'm not so sure. I think she can't have the exact same aura that she had, because obviously we had like her catharsis, we had her character, like a large part of her character arc. But I talk about this in a lot of my videos. In all my Straw Hat character analysis, like the overarching theme that I like basically discovered when I did all of them was that all the like basically pre-Grand Line crew, they all still have, like, since Fishman Island, still gotten a lot of character development.
No, I definitely agree. So I'm not saying character development. I'm saying, like, personally what I liked about the... So, for example, like, stuff that Oda does with Robin a little bit now. So, like, for example, her making the face. You remember that? or saying Ryonosuke is cute, or like she has certain shock. Like Oda plays with Robin a little more now, in a way that he would never have done with her pre-time skip. And I understand like that's, you know, her character has changed and like it's not as hard or as armored or whatever and everything like that, and she's more free to emote and everything like that. But I'm saying like what I really liked about Robin at that point in time was sort of like she is a more mysterious, darker, more serious. She has a certain aura. She will never do something like the docking or something like that. And I think Oda started to play with that more, which has, I don't know, I personally don't, in my mind, it's like certain characters, I like having that sort of like an edge around them, basically.
Yeah, for sure. Especially if they're good, but still have like this darker aura about them. Well, I guess like a hopeful thought in that direction is that I personally think that Oda has been very, very careful, similar to this flashback, he has been very careful not to touch anything with Robin related to the end game, because she has to know some shit, right? That's gonna be relevant.
She's gonna have a very big role, like for sure, very
exactly. So I think and like just the poneglyphs, but then there's also the entire thing where she spent 2 years with the revolutionaries. Like that's been something that's basically never touched upon ever. So I think with Robin's character, there's a lot more to her than we at the moment have the impression of. I just feel like Oda is almost a little bit too sensitive for his own good with her character, trying to avoid any hints about what her role might be in the future. So I think it would have been nice if he like integrated her a little bit more in previous arcs in some way or form. But I definitely think we're going to go back there. And I hope it's going to be impactful.
I personally still like to believe that Wano will have a very big role for this. Like, as I see Wano so far, I still think that it is set up to have a very big role for the Stryads in the second half of the story. If I'm totally wrong about that, then I don't know. But I do see potential for them all to have big roles, basically. Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Yeah, I mean, already with the flashback, it already, like, basically started to show us how important Wano will be, right?
Yeah. The Wano is just... Okay, okay, should we talk... Speaking of Wano, should we talk very briefly at least about, like, the idea that like Wano's ports have to be opened for Joy Boy?
Oh,
because what do you feel about that? Because that really threw me for a loop, and I don't know how I feel about it yet. I kind of know. I know I don't like it, but I don't know if I don't know if I don't like it or not yet. I know what I'm afraid it might be, which is what I don't like. So I'm not gonna blame Oda for something that hasn't happened yet. But I'm like, oh, I hope it's not Joy Boy What do you think?
Okay, so we start the Destiny side like timestamp here.
Yeah, I guess so. Section. Yeah, this is where the timestamp is. And hopefully this doesn't go long because it's midnight where I'm at right now and I just want to sleep. So,
okay.
But I do want to, and we have questions. So all right.
Yes, we have a couple of questions. Okay, so the Destiny thing. So okay, I think like correct me if I'm wrong. Like definitely interrupt me if that's not where you're coming from. But I assume that your thought process is like similar to like what we have with Naruto, where it was like we have this story which was set up and then suddenly it turns into, oh yeah, he's like the reincarnation of that dude, and it like everything he kind of like did so far was just like part of prophecy, and it's like it didn't really matter, and like suddenly the story about like this person exploring his own, like having his own journey, exploring the world by his own means, suddenly it turns out that was never the case. Like it was always destined.
Yes,
he was always destined to be that guy. Is that what you're afraid of?
Let me clarify that a little bit. Basically, that's pretty on the nose, pretty on point there. The one thing is, I was always okay with the idea of there being a certain prophecy or like destiny that the will of D would be fulfilled. You know what I mean? Like that someday somebody would come do it. I just thought that the story of Luffy was that he's the one who can finally fill that role. As in, like, there were always people, like, and like, this comes up in One Piece, too, frequently on, like, there are quotes like, oh, this was a crossroads of fate, or fate could have gone a couple different ways or something here. Like, I have those quotes, like, I know where those quotes are and stuff like that. Like, to me, that's, my view of it was basically, oh, Roger could have been that guy who filled the thing. It was just he was unlucky to come a little late. Ace could have been the guy to do it. It's just that his life took a certain turn and his path just went a certain way. in the end of the day, Luffy's going to be the one to do it. But in my mind, it's like Luffy is stepping up to fill that role. I never thought that it was always like, yes, someday somebody is going to come and that person is like circled in like, you know, the date book. Like Luffy's going to be born on this day. And then that day is like, you know, he's going to come fill this role, basically. You know what I mean? I feel like there's a bit of a difference there. And especially so if Luffy's literally the reincarnation of that guy, of Joy Boy, basically. That's my view of it.
Yeah. So if that were the case, like if Luffy basically isn't Luffy, but it turns out, like at one point he goes to Raftel and then he's filled with memories.
Oh
and,
god,
you know,
oh god, like I didn't even think about that. If that happens, I'll be really, really blown away. I don't know about
that. Like I wouldn't be on board with that, but I honestly don't think that that's the route Oda's taking. So first of all, I guess a difference, for example, to like I'm not that big of like I've never been that deep into Naruto. But I've seen it, right? And so I think the problem there was that they started like I don't even know the author's name. That's kind of
you don't know Kishimoto? Wow.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. There we go.
Sorry, I didn't mean to say it like that. But I'm like, wow.
No, of course. No, I mean,
like someone just yeah. You got a One Piece channel and everything. You don't know. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, of course. Then it's just authentic that I don't know the Naruto.
Yeah. I don't even know their name.
Thank you. Thank you, Kishimoto. So yeah. So he never set up anything related to destiny so much or prophecy. And then suddenly, like towards the climax of the story, this suddenly becomes like this big theme, and then like he basically flips the concept and the premise of the story kind of on its head, which made it feel a little bit like Deus Ex Machina. Like gave it that vibe kind of. Like with One Piece, destiny and will and so on have always been like a big theme. So in general, going into a direction like that was kind of foreseeable. Like the only question there is going to be how Oda's going to like actually work that out, that entire thing. And so I agree with you if you say, it's literally going to be Luffy. It was always going to be Luffy, and like there was no alternative basically, and he was born to fill that route. That would be that would kind of suck, I would say. I personally see it rather in a way that, as you said, the will of D is something carried by this group of people who inherit, like with the concept of inherited will, right? They inherit from the Void Century forward going. They inherited this idea of freeing the world, of like positivity, freedom and so on and so forth, equality. And as you said, anyone basically along these 900 years, under the right circumstances, would have had the chance to step into those shoes and become the next Joy Boy. And I personally also rather take Joy Boy as more of a title, I guess, and like less of a literal person, like more of a concept.
That's my preference.
Right, a concept. Yes. So I personally would see that Luffy will always stay Luffy, and Luffy's decision will still have an impact, right? So of course his story is gonna go differently than like just a random person in any random world would go, because he's a protagonist of a story.
Yes, yeah. I don't like when that argument comes. I'm like, that's different.
Yeah. Like sometimes people argue like, oh yeah, well, but like Luffy's always gonna win, and like we already know, and like yeah, that's the point of a story. Like you don't want to hear about like the story. Yeah, you don't want to hear the story about Dave.
Yeah,
who kind of like made it to the Grand Line, but then, like but he like opened a casino like on Sabaody and got fat there, and like died of a heart attack at 45, like dope story. it's like realistic, but have fun reading that for 90 volumes, So there. So so I guess my base argument is I don't have a problem with destiny and inherited will in general, because I think that those are themes that have been set up from the very start. I think it was pretty obvious that Oda was going to go in some way or direction with that always. And in the end, it just now that we're getting into a little bit more concrete areas, I guess, like we're getting a bit more hands-on.
Yeah, with that sort of thing. No, okay.
Now
Yeah.
Now I think it's legit to become a little bit like, ooh, is he gonna make the right move here?
That there is like he's holding a certain piece, and it's like where does he put it? Kind of basically, it's gonna make a big deal. No, okay, I 100% agree that Destiny and Inherited Will have been big parts of it, but I guess we're on the same page with this. Basically, like I view it differently as like there's a sense of destiny to the story always, but turning it into a sort of reincarnation story. To me, that kind of locks it into something that that kills the other half of it.
Is it really reincarnation?
If it's
reincarnation really?
To me, the literal interpretation of that I took was that Joy Boy is literally being. Maybe it's because I read Naruto or whatever. Naruto spoilers for those who have not read Naruto. Naruto is literally the reincarnation of Ashura. Yeah, there's a guy named Ashura. Yeah, he was the son of the sage
one of the
Six Paths, who was the son of Kaguya, and it's complicated. But
who's from the moon?
Yeah, who's from the moon. There's other people like her, but she ate a fruit, not a devil fruit. That's it. I hope you listen to that if you are interested in like just getting the quick recap of Naruto. Anyway, so. I know I said spoilers first. If you didn't listen, then you got it all.
I feel the passion for the story like right through the screen here.
I loved Naruto at one point. Oh, not loved. I won't say I ever loved Naruto, but early Naruto I really, really liked. I really liked. Yeah,
like
I really
in a platonic way. You loved him like in a platonic way.
Oh no, no, not a platonic way at all. I really loved. No, okay.
Pure sexual tension.
I didn't care about the story. This is pure animal, carnal love. All right. What was I saying? There was
no, let's keep going with that.
Yeah, all right. Let's talk about One Piece, which is platonic. So, Destiny. Yeah, okay. There's always a sense. I just view it as different from being like locked into that, because like One Piece, a big part is freedom, carving your own path. Luffy always doing like his own thing. Like to me, like the sense of individualism is so strong in One Piece. Like Luffy is unique, and there's no one like Luffy. That was my view of it, and whatever he does is what he chooses to do. And Inherited Will, I really love the concept of Inherited Will. To me, it's very different if Luffy's inheriting Joy Boy's will versus if Luffy is literally just Joy Boy born again. Like to me, those are two drastically different things. Like that's where I'm coming from. So I trust Oda will not go that route, because I think it just goes against his concept of the story. But I think from what we both talked about in terms of like where we are comfortable with it being is like Luffy filling the role of a Joy Boy, but not Luffy is born as Joy Boy 2.0 basically. To me, by the way, the last thing I'll say on that, if Luffy is literally Joy Boy reincarnated, to me that actually kills the point of Roger in the story in general. Because it's no longer like inheriting Joy Boy. It's just no longer inheriting Roger's will and all that stuff. Like it sounds like it's just Joy Boy was born again. He would probably have like changed the world regardless if there was a Gold Roger or not.
And Roger was kind of like
just the
setup for Luffy that made it a bit easier.
Yeah, like maybe it made it a bit easier, but it's not. Yeah,
like that would have probably made Roger the more interesting character then.
Yeah,
because he would be the one
finds out that he doesn't
going into those like almost stepping into those footsteps, even though not being meant for it. Yeah. Well, I guess, like, for me, the magic of Inherited Will is that, like, you have the will passed down from the Ancient Kingdom times, right? So that survived through the D clan. But then at the same time, like, Luffy is not, like, it's not like the D people always only inherited, like, the exact one thing. Like, there have been probably variations, as we see with, like, people like Blackbeard. They're, like, probably, like... They all share like a certain, like the essence in a way, but like some have a good, like a positive twist on it, some have a negative twist on it, some interpret it differently. And then I think also Luffy didn't only like inherit Joy Boy's will, but like also Roger and Ace and so on and so forth. They all put their own spin, like their own life story played into that, and that played a role in the will being passed on, right? Like same with Shanks.
No, 100%
that's
agree.
like the magic.
And that's what I've liked, so that's my concept of the story so far. I feel like a lot of that is a little, not undone, but it feels cheaper or less meaningful if it's just Luffy is this guy born again, basically. I hope it's not anything short of reincarnation. I think I'm generally going to be fine with. it depends. Again, if he was literally marked as the chosen one from birth, I might not like that either. I think we'll just have to wait and see, because there's so many ways that Oda can do it at this point. I'm just going to interpret it at the moment as a role, but that's my bias coming in, basically. Like, I would prefer it that Joy Boy is like a title or a position or a role.
Well, I guess moving back a little bit further, even in the chapter, and going from away from the Joy Boy stuff a little bit earlier to the flashback Roger has of the Sea Kings.
Yeah, I knew you were going to bring up the Sea Kings.
Yes. Do you think
that bothers me too? So I'm trying not to think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, please elaborate it in a second. But like, just in general, do you think, like, first of all, what bothers you about it? I'd like to know that. And the second thing is, do you think that Joy Boy is one of the two kings? Like, or do you think there is Joy Boy, who has a different role, and then there's two kings? Like, one is Shirahoshi, one is whoever, Momo, whoever else, Imu, I don't know. Like, do you think one of the kings is Joy Boy? Like, do you think those concepts are the same, or do you think they are connected but they're still separate?
I just go with my simplest understanding, which is that the king would be Joy Boy, basically. Yeah, I mean, Joy Boy was the one who left that poneglyph down in Fishman Island. It seems that he had some tie to Fishman Island. There's whatever the prophecy that some 100 years or something like that, the mermaid princess is always born, or the Sea King is born, the mermaid princess, and that there's somebody who's supposed to guide her. To me, my natural interpretation is that that's gonna be Joy Boy, who, like, the king is Joy Boy or whatever like that. So to me, the Sea King scene reinforces a little bit the possibility that Luffy was just always chosen one from birth, which I don't like, but, we'll wait and see. One thing interesting I saw going around on Twitter, I don't know for sure. Oh, Eric Torlato might have been the one who mentioned this, and he mentioned that it was from a Sora video. He mentioned Vivi, which I think is actually a very interesting possibility. I'll just say this right now. I've always thought, not always, but like for a while I've thought that, Luffy can't lead the world or whatever. I do feel like if somebody's being set up to sort of lead the world from whatever ruins it goes into after Luffy's done with it, it would be Vivi. I think that's her role that she's always been set up for. Anyway, your thoughts in general on the Sea Kings?
Sea Kings. Yeah. Shirahoshi being the original Sea King. Like, she's really a Sea King.
You're saying literally a Sea King.
Yeah, King of the Sea Kings, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I see it like similarly to you. What I personally think would be a cool spin on it, like for me personally, right? Like, it might not work out that way in the story, but like, just from my gut feeling, the coolest spin on everything would be Oda setting up Luffy as either Joy Boy or one of the kings or both. And in the end, Luffy actually is someone who has nothing to do with all of that, and is just really someone, like, there is all
that'd
this
be
prophecy
really cool,
and so on and so
I would
forth,
love that.
But Luffy, that would be so dope. Like, Luffy is just the one, like, out of his own force, and like, still having the inherited will, obviously, of Roger, and like
that's the cool part of it, that he's doing it out of his, like, this is just a person who's doing it,
But he's just like the facilitator for, like, like, the reason why the two kings couldn't, like, rise earlier and why Joy Boy couldn't come back yet is because there was no one who was able to facilitate that opportunity. And like, with Luffy filling that role, that would be dope, I guess, in my opinion. I don't know if that's the, like you said, like, right now it looks like Oda's going with the route that Luffy actually is one of these important people. But then again, if I were Oda and I had that idea, I would also at least try to sell that idea before. Yeah, obviously contradicting it.
Yeah. Okay, I will say we can mark off some people as this other king. Obviously, it can't be Shirahoshi because it's Shirahoshi's.
She's one of them.
Yeah, she's one of them. It can't be Momo because Momo was born before this, I think.
But I think it's only, like, they only talk about the birth of one king. I don't think they're born at the same time or anything. So I think Momo is still a candidate.
No, because they were like, one of them's born in a sea far away, I remember. So, and it's like going to be born or something like that. So, okay, I don't know. I can check that later or something. My interpretation was that it's someone who's yet to be born. So, can check that later.
They were both yet to be born, or do you think one was already alive? No, right?
Both yet to... No, Momo was alive. Momo was alive at that point.
Oh, you're right.
Right? I'm pretty sure he's alive. Yeah, Momo's alive right now. Momo's currently alive where we're at in Odin's flashback or whatever. So I think it can't be Momo. Can't be Blackbeard because he's born. Can't be Dragon because he's born. Can't be Shanks because he's not like. It's leaving in my mind like it's got to be Luffy, maybe Vivi, maybe Kid. If Kid is way more important than we all thought. So I don't know. Like I do hope that Oda has a good spin. I think Vivi is the most interesting spin. Im was holding that poster of Vivi. Again, I think it's credit to Sawyer for pointing that out, but I don't actually know what Sawyer said. I just know that Sawyer and Vivi were mentioned together in a tweet. So interesting.
That's interesting. Yeah, I was actually like, I was also thinking about, for example, like someone like, because Imu in a way is also a king, right? So
do you think it's
like we don't? Well, like now that you reminded me of like the birth part of it, like I would have to go and reread that because I actually don't have it like as precisely in mind right now. But that would be interesting because like if it says that both are still like are yet to be born, then obviously that excludes a lot of possibilities. If they're only like that's as how I took it at first, but I might really be wrong here. I at first took it that they're talking about Shirahoshi being born, because that's also what Oda hammered in like with the next panel where Roger is confirming with what's her name? Charlie, thank you, Charlie. So he really hammers the Shirahoshi thing in. So, but like, in case that only refers to Shirahoshi, I think like that opens more opportunities to also like Momo and Vivi. Well, Vivi anyway, I guess, but like Momo, Imu would also, because he's a king of a sorts, and we also don't really know. Like they just say the kings meet again, but we don't know if they're like allies or if they're if they're like supposed to fight or anything, you know.
Maybe it was Ace and Ace just died, and then that's tough luck on them.
That's tough luck on the Sea Kings.
Yeah, it's like, all right.
We didn't get the memo.
Yeah. Okay, dude. Let's.
And I mean,
good.
Yeah. Okay. I was just thinking like the entire deal with the Sea Kings in general. Like there must be like some backstory with them. You know, like
the Sea Kings backstory. Yeah.
I don't know about you. I think we talked. Did we talk about that with Roger? I'm not sure. Like I think we talked about once. Like I personally get like the more we get this flashback, the more I get this feeling that there's like some mindfuck reveal going to happen about the entire world of One Piece that's going to be like turn the entire thing completely on its head. And I feel like I have like this feeling that it's like somewhere in there a little bit, like with the Sea Kings, and you know, like something happened and like that. Yeah, you know, I just can't wait for that to happen.
I definitely agree. I think it'll be kind of a series of things kind of coming together. Like, oh, this is really this, and this is really this, and this really like. I don't think we're just gonna wake up and like One Piece or like One Piece was all in the Matrix or something like that. But like, yeah, definitely like a lot of pieces coming together basically for something like really.
But crazy. I still expect like a moment where it's like, oh, you've been looking at the world like this way. It's like 4 C's and the Grand Line and the Red Line, and that's how the world is. But that's actually not what the world is. Kind of, you know, like
we have. This comes up frequently, I feel here, but like the destroying the Red Line theory or whatever.
Definitely.
The one thing
but
is,
I mean,
I feel like that's
even further than that, you know.
But I feel like, okay, imagine that we didn't know about that theory, like period. I think it's almost a problem that this dude came up with that theory because I think it's such a strong theory. And by the way, I don't think people would have thought of this theory. I think it's like a 1 in a 10 million or something that this guy happened to think of, because I think that's not an intuitive theory to think of. Period. I think it would be very unlikely that a fan figures out this theory and popularizes it or whatever. So
you think uniting I mean, it's easy to say, I guess, from the perspective of knowing it, as always. But I don't know, do you think like the idea of reuniting the seas is such an unpopular thought?
I just think that all I know is that before that guy came up with the theory, I know 2 things. So before that guy came up with the theory, I had never thought of anything like that, and I had never seen anything like that before, and I'd looked through a lot of these theories. And also, since that guy came up with the theory, I've never seen anybody else independently come up with that theory. You know what I mean? So I've always seen people say, I've heard of this theory. I've heard of this, like, I've seen this theory, and it's always traced back to that same dude. I've never seen anybody post on Reddit like, oh, I came up with this theory. What if the Red Line is destroyed and it's all the seas coming together? So, you know what to me, that means it's like, whatever that dude figured out, I don't think any other fan would have figured it out or it would have not, or not in that same way or anything. I just don't think it's an intuitive theory to think that the world would be destroyed, because I haven't seen anybody who doesn't know about the theory come up with that theory. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think it'd be interesting to see if that thread is still around, because that'd be interesting reading like the original post.
Yeah, definitely. It is still around, because I haven't read it recently or whatever, but like I think a couple years back or so, I was at one point for my channel considering like doing my thoughts on that theory, so I looked it up again basically. But then I didn't make videos for a while. So, but I think that in itself, if we were to have gotten that without our prior knowledge of it, would be that level of a mindfuck theory. And I trust that Oda has stuff even beyond that. But I'm saying, like, I feel like that might be, like, the big thing. Like, the world is, in fact, One Piece or whatever. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, alright.
Yeah.
That's not gonna do it. That blew my mind when I
do it
first
for me.
read it. When I first read it, I was
just-
like, holy shit, that solves it all.
Yeah,
And it's
it
been
is.
so long
Yeah.
since I've seen it that it's kind of worn off. But, like, if I were to have gotten that in the manga, I would have been like, shit, like, it all fits together or whatever. But
Right. I guess I see your point for sure. I mean, it's still amazing, but I just feel like apart from that, I still feel like
Yeah.
there's
more. There's definitely more, because there's so much stuff. Like, that doesn't
Like-
explain a lot of things, basically.
like the entire world of One Piece feels so fabricated, you know, like this like 90-degree like section of the entire world into like 4 parts, with the Grand Line and the Red Line like going 90 degrees against each other, and like then the grand, like it all feels like someone played like God a little bit there. So I'm sure there's like some
There's the moon
sort of.
people. Moon stuff is still at play.
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions
Moon
still
stuff.
at play. Yeah, there's the moon. There's moon. I just call it the moon stuff because I've never seen any good theories about it. Like, period. Like, no, I haven't seen people be like, okay, this is how all the moon stuff connects or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
Don't confuse it with butt stuff. It's different.
okay.
No.
All
You
right, dude.
wanna
Let's
confuse
get
some
these
moon
questions real. Unless you got something else.
No, I'm just thinking because I think I recently read like a theory on the moon, but I can't really remember it. It's just that I think oh, actually, Nate, wait, because someone, and I think, let me check, because like someone commented on our last Wano report,
Mhm.
and I think if I understand
we got a
correctly,
comment?
it's like another.
Awesome.
Yeah, we got a comment,
Yeah,
so
wow.
that's so if you want to make us happy, also comment
Yeah,
on our
also
podcast. As far as I know, it was another creator, I think from Brazil or Portugal. I might fuck it up, but he shared a really interesting theory with me actually, because he said he wanted to get it out into English, so I can just read it if you want to. Oh, it's pretty long.
Is
Wait.
there a
Okay,
TLDR?
so basically what he talks about, to condense it a little bit, is there's this symbol, right? Like, I think, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, I think I saw a theory video by Joy Boy where he at least mentioned that, but there's this symbol, right? That's like, it's these 8 orbs that appear in like the Kozuki symbol. It appears on Jaya. It appears in it's like an Alabaster's flag.
dude? I've seen something similar to, like, somebody had pointed out that there's some I don't what's the rest of the theory?
It's like this one.
I'm looking it up. Oh, wait, one sec. That. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And so what he basically says is,
Wait,
that
is this like a
there's,
really good theory? I actually don't like
Yeah.
hearing really good theories.
Oh, you don't?
Like, I want the surprise. All right, just tell me it. We're already too far.
Are we already too far? I can just read it into it a bit and then you stop me, okay?
Okay, all right.
Okay, so he says, there's a symbol that shows up in the most important moments in One Piece. It's a big sphere with 8 satellites around. The symbol appears on Skypiea, the Kozuki, and the Mink, like with the Kozuki clan, with the Minks.
Yeah, I have an image
and an
pulled up of
alabaster.
like a collage of it. Actually, I just clipped
Yeah.
Alabasta 8 symbols. Yeah.
And so he says that that's like the symbol of the ancient kingdom, basically. Which
Okay.
I get would make sense because that's all places that are connected. And he says, so the first time we saw historians and scientists in One Piece was basically in Ohara. And in the background, we can see the One Piece Earth and multiple moons. But we actually never see these moons at night. And we only see one moon, the Verth moon, right? That Anil is going to. And he says, we know by fact that the Verth was in the past like a planet and that there was life there. And it was like the land of the Burkas, right? The winged people from Skypiea. They fled to the moon due to a lack of natural resources. And his theory is that in the past there were 9 moons, each with like with the individual humanoid life forms there and their own technology. And those different creatures, little by little, started to flee to Earth due to a lack of resources and bringing their own culture and technology to Earth, like to the planet.
No, too much. All right, that's enough.
Too much
That's
already?
all right. I've already gotten too much out of it. All right. I don't know. I should have stopped you earlier.
You looked so interested.
I was very interested, and I was like, oh no, he's. So now if I'm watching Robin read the final poneglyph or whatever, and it's just saying this stuff, I'll just be completely spoiled.
Okay.
Man, okay, no, that's not your fault. I should have stopped you earlier. Was that the main? Was there anything else left to it that was big?
Yeah, we're still going.
Okay, no, then forget it. I don't want to hear anymore.
Okay.
Sorry to disappoint the podcast.
First of all, thank you.
Privately message Ohara.
Thank you for the theory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shouts to this.
You want to hear
Brazilian-
if you?
What's
Yeah,
his name?
shout outs to Rodrigo Gomez. Thanks so much for sharing. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed the theory, and I'm also happy that I remembered, even though you might not be.
Yeah. Thanks for spoiling it, man.
it's a
Thanks,
great
Rodrigo.
theory. Yeah, it's a great theory. I'm not sure.
It is a great theory.
He said he also sent it to Tekking, so I didn't check, but maybe he already did a video on it.
Oh, if Tekking.
If
Tekking definitely
if
got
not-
to it first. There's no way Tekking.
yeah, he
didn't
probably
get it.
did a video on it.
If he saw it.
If he didn't, we like I might make one, but I'm pretty sure he did one. So
Can I say one thing real
Wait.
quick on that? My
Yeah,
you know the
please.
many moons thing. There was that model in Ohara, right? The many moon, not you Ohara, the island Ohara, right? There was that model,
okay.
the many moons thing. Everybody
Yeah.
interpreted, or not everybody, but lots of people are like, yeah, so One Piece is many moons. Because we've only ever seen one moon and referenced one moon, my personal interpretation of that was always just that, well, they think that all the planets revolve around the Earth. Because I don't know
Oh.
history that well, but I just assumed that would be
that
the thought
One
of that.
Piece is one moon.
No, just that, like, like back in the day, people thought Earth is the center of the universe and all the other planets travel around the Earth. So then naturally their model of it would reflect that. I never interpreted that as like, oh, there's multiple moons in the One Piece world. I just assumed
Right.
that, okay, one of those is the moon and then the others are planets or whatever. And that's how they
Right.
think of it. So maybe that's the boring interpretation, but like, I always thought it was a bit of a jump to say that there's like all these other moons when we only see one. I'm like, wouldn't they just think that, like, like back at that time period, wouldn't they have thought that that the Earth is the center and then everything else revolves around it? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's
So you say that like the big planet we see is actually not the One Piece world, but the One Piece world is one of the moons.
no. The One Piece world, like you're saying in that thing, in that model.
We're talking about the world model right now, right? From Ohara.
Yeah, the world model in Ohara. So
Right.
the Earth is still in the center,
Right.
but all the things surrounding it are just planets, and then one of them is the moon. Like, it's the same way that back in the day we thought that the Earth is the center, and
Yes.
so those other things aren't moons; those are just the other planets. So it's moon, but then also Mars, Venus, Saturn, etc.
Oh,
Like,
you mean it's not like proportional, in a way.
yeah, not proportional, I assume, like the same way
Yeah.
that, like, the differences or whatever. But that's just how I assume. Like, to me, that was a straightforward thing. Like, back in the day, that's what planetary models looked like: the Earth in the center, and then everything else revolving around it. That's
No,
boring,
another
but that's
year-
to me that just like there's only one moon that we've seen so far in the story. They only talk about one moon. I don't know why everybody jumped to like there's multiple moons. That's what I'm saying.
That theory though, that is like now that I rethink it,
No, his theory is totally fine.
it's like almost too good.
I thought it was
It's
a really
it
interesting
almost
theory.
hurts. It's
I'm
so
just letting
good.
you know what I thought before this. I was like,
Shit.
yeah,
No, yeah.
there's only one moon, but what he said was really interesting, and we have seen that model and stuff like that. So,
Fuck. It's a
no,
really good theory.
that theory throws
shit.
my view of the planetary model into a loop, basically. So I'm like, okay, maybe I interpreted that wrong, and those are all like moons and stuff like that surrounding the Earth. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. It would be a really cool clue, because that's the clue from Ohara, right? So if Oda wanted to plant a clue, he would plant it there.
You sure you don't want me to keep reading?
No.
Because this is really good.
No,
This
I
is
don't.
like-
Don't read it anymore.
This is like really good. Oh my god.
Okay, fine. Just all right. Can you?
No,
Yeah.
No, I don't. I don't like. I still need you on the podcast. I don't want you to like be fed up with One Piece or anything.
No. Dude. Okay. I don't know. I'm weird in a sense that like if certain things that really
Something makes too much sense.
Yeah, okay, series that I don't care about that much. Like, I'll happily read, no offense to the Marvel Cinematic Universe or whatever, but I'll happily read theories about that, like, all the time. Like, Game of Thrones, which I enjoyed a lot, but I was happy reading Game of Thrones theory and stuff. Like, I didn't mind knowing the R plus L equals J stuff. The Jon Snow being the kid of whoever and whoever. Like, I was fine reading those theories, but then for series that I really like, if a theory seems too good almost, I feel like I've lost something that... And it's a theory that I wouldn't have thought of myself. That's the key. Like, if it's something I would have guessed myself, like, I can guess that... You know what I mean? Like, if I can guess, like, this will happen, then I don't count that. But if I feel like, someone was so smart and solved something, then I get a little... I'm like, I spoiled myself for what I would have enjoyed way more in the actual series, basically. So I'm a little weird like that. That's why I don't like thinking about who the traitor is, for example. I'd rather just be spoiled. I mean, I'd rather just be surprised in the manga. Okay, fine. You look like you want to say
No.
No. Okay,
No.
Say the
I
theory.
don't.
The more that you hype up that the
finish
theory's
reading
good,
it
the less I want to hear
like,
it.
it goes.
All right, what?
Do you want me to keep you sure? Because I stopped reading, so I just like read a little bit further into it. But
okay, just how much further is it?
So I just scratched the surface, really.
Are you kidding? Okay, no, leave it. I don't need to hear this. Also, here's my other excuse. I need to sleep soon. So.
Oh yeah. Let's do some questions.
Yeah, let's get some
questions.
But
nonetheless, again, big shout out. Thanks a lot. Like this theory, like as far as I read into it, this makes crazy sense. Okay, so like to those of you who want to hear that theory, I guess, let's do it like this. If Tekking doesn't put out a video on it, I will address it at some point.
Okay,
for sure.
That sounds good.
So,
I will be sure to skip that video.
Yeah.
If you turn it into video format or whatever. All right, cool.
We could
also
post
the link if you want.
Discuss it with him, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, true. Oh, guys, I forgot. Update. Shouldn't we have mentioned this at some point in the podcast?
I don't know. I'm like. You know, like, I mean, it's pretty safe, but still, like, you know, like...
Oh, disappointment and stuff?
I thought of it, and I was like, like, maybe just keep quiet, and then, like...
But then there's less anticipation, right? Like,
you might hype it up a bit?
Hype it up, like, we can mention it. Mentioning it once isn't hyping it up too much.
Okay.
We're not gonna, like...
Alright, take it.
Alright.
Okay, now we mention it.
Alright, guys, next week, the Wano Report is on break.
No, 2 weeks.
So 2 weeks from now.
Fuck, got me there.
2 weeks from now, we're making up for that. We've had a very popular request.
So next week.
Next
you
week.
Won't believe it.
Yeah.
The Wano Report is on break.
Yeah. We've had a very common request for Tekking 101. So we got him. So that's basically it.
Got him.
Yeah.
We found him.
Yeah.
We abducted him from his house. Now we're just waiting to make the podcast.
Yes. All right, so hope you guys can stop asking us about that. Because it's every pod. It's like, when are you guys going to get Tekking 101? Or if we have a guest on, it's like, why isn't this Tekking 101? It's
like, why? I mean, like, this guy is nice and all, but...
you guys got this guy instead of Tekking? It's like... yeah.
Why isn't Tekking double hosting the Wano Report?
Yeah, like, who is Morj and Ohara?
Like, Morj and Ohara are pretty cool, but like, why not Tekking and Tekking?
Yeah, Tekking has lots of alter egos, so he could feasibly...
True. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm super excited. I'm really looking forward to talking to him. Yeah. I won't... Yeah.
We can't...
Let's just...
We can't label it the lurking legend revealed like we did that.
Yeah.
We did that
oh yeah, we do that again.
That was the worst received Wano Report of all time. So it was like complaints about you didn't talk about One Piece. The title is clickbait. I wasn't putting out any videos at the time either, so people were mad about that too. A little bit.
When you told me the title, I thought like, oh, Morj, that's brilliant. I think that's hilarious. And then I guess that went like a couple of levels too deep.
Too deep.
Yeah.
And we didn't talk about one. It was a double.
Yeah.
All right.
It was like, do you remember? Did you see? So if you saw the thumbnail for our last Wano Report, the one with Revujo laughing.
One. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was debating titles with Revujo. I was like, I think like a funny title would be like, it's way too short because the podcast was so short, and Roger was laughing and I thought it was hilarious. And then
Oh, I see.
Revujo was like, I think that's a few levels too deep there for for some people. I was like, well, I don't want to confuse anyone, so we did something else.
Yeah,
but yeah,
probably for the best.
But yeah, I'm super, like, I mean, I'll save most of my comments for next time, I guess. But I'm super excited for that podcast, definitely. So I'm looking forward to taking. He's a super cool guy, I think, and I think that'll be a really interesting one for sure.
Yeah. All right. Let's try and speed through some. We're 25 minutes past when I wanted to go to sleep. Let's speed through a couple questions.
I'm sorry.
No, you're totally good. Like I could have asked. I could have asked to end the theory thing earlier or something if I really wanted to go to sleep, but I listened to most of it. All right. Shoot, where's the thread now?
I got it open. Okay. So we actually, on request of someone who was so kind and like formulated some very constructive feedback. He started with something positive and then like gave us some recommendations. It was like, I really enjoy podcasts, but maybe like plan out the questions beforehand. So we decided to give this a try and see if it takes away from the charm of the podcast. So we actually pre-selected a couple of questions.
By the way, we only accept constructive criticism if it's in a compliment sandwich like that.
Yeah.
So take notes.
Only
please.
tell us how great we are.
Yeah. Great. Then you can give us a note and then after. All right. No, we're joking. Obviously.
Actually,
please don't take that.
Literally. Actually, also a quick note, like something I wanted to get at for a long time, but I think I've never said. If you dislike a video, like a podcast or like a video with one of us, like you can do that, but at least be so kind and tell us why you disliked. Like give us leave it like. I don't understand if people dislike a video and then like vanish. You know, it's like, oh, this sucks, and then like dislike it. I'm like,
oh really? Oh, I don't know. Okay.
Oh, you love dislikes?
No, I don't. I don't like dislikes.
Wait, let me go to your page. dislike.
Dude, there was a time when I was coming up, like really early. There was a time when like each time I posted a video, there was somebody who was subscribed, somebody who clearly got a notification each time that a video went up, and then disliked it right away.
Like up to 10 seconds. I have a guy like that as well.
I only had like 100 subscribers at that point, so I'm like, this is actually really hurting my like dislike. Who is this person? Why are you subscribed to me just to dislike my content?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, okay, it sucks obviously, but like I know I've gone to plenty of videos in the past and like I've hit a dislike button on videos that I just don't like and like not commented or whatever. So I don't know. It's nice. It would help if you dislike the content. Obviously, then like especially if you like other one of our Wano reports and then you dislike one of them and then just let us know like what you did off. Like last time the audio was really bad, so stuff like that. Or,
no. I mean like we're really like despite us trolling around, we're really open for criticism. But like it should come. We would appreciate it if it came from a place of you guys genuinely wanting better content and not just like, LOL, you suck. This is trash. And then coming back next week anyway and being like, LOL, this is trash again.
All right.
Okay.
Anyway,
start with the question?
Going off the suggestion or whatever, like we have picked some questions basically this time, and we're gonna try that.
Yes. First one. Do you think Wano will be the time where we finally get to see the what the fuck is up with Zoro's eye?
Personally, no, because I personally don't think that there's anything up with.
Do you think he just lost it?
I think he just lost an eye.
Mm.
Do you think? Do you believe there's a power?
I don't know. I think it would, like, depending on how it would be enacted, it would be cool, I guess. I will just say and go with, I believe we will find out what the flip is going on. Okay, so that the comments at flip, I just like turned it into fuck because like we're explicit, so it's fine. But yeah, I think we're gonna find out what's going on with it. But I think the possibility that it's just gonna be like, hey Zoro, by the way, what's wrong with your eye? And it's gonna be like, oh, I lost it, and that's it. Like, I think that's a possibility.
Okay, here's what. Okay, I guess you can interpret it. Okay, do I think it has a power up? I personally don't. I do think that we could get a flashback to, like, maybe that was his last duel with Mihawk before leaving or something like that, or like maybe that was a meaningful duel or something like that is relevant to his
he injured Mihawk, but Mihawk took his eye instead or something like that.
I don't know if he injured. You'll get some people fired up if he suggests that Zoro.
He like got like a scratch on him, and then like Mihawk just took his eye off.
You got really mad.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just try and turbo through these questions then a little bit.
Yes.
Will we
Next
see a
one.
glimpse of Moria stealing Ryuma's corpse in Odin's flashback? I didn't think about
Yes.
that. Yeah. I think that'd be
think we
really
will.
cool. I think there's a lot of stuff, like we mentioned earlier in the podcast, that there's stuff, like we haven't seen Shinobu, we haven't seen Fukurokujo, we haven't seen Fujitora if he's
Fukurokujo.
potentially, yeah, if he's potentially in
Yes.
Wano. We saw Hyogoro for like a minute. We haven't seen, yeah, like I think it'd be really cool if we saw like more characters pop up in Wano. I think we'd still have a little
Yes.
more time.
Agreed. Do you guys think we will be at any time shown how Whitebeard reacted to Odin's death, or him seeking Ace as a favor to Roger?
That's a two-parter, I guess.
It's a two-parter, yeah.
I guess I'll say first real quick. Whitebeard reacting to Odin's death. I kind of hope we do, just to address it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it's important, but I think it should be. It'd be nice to address it at some point. Like, you know, just to show, because I guess it does leave a bit of a question mark. Like, you could logic it away as basically like, once Odin's died, then maybe Whitebeard doesn't have like he's not the type of person who goes and gets just like revenge for the sake of it or something like that. Like, it's not like Odin was under, like Odin left his crew and stuff like that. It's not like he's like one of Whitebeard's children under his protection. Odin was like one of, like I think Whitebeard viewed Odin as more like an equal than anything else. Like he wasn't like one of his sons or anything like that. So.
Agreed. I think I can live with that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think it would be nice to
how
address
about-
it, but I don't view it as like, oh, Whitebeard's obligated to go
Right.
save Odin.
Right. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. How about this? If you had to get rid of one of the Straw Hats from the series, who would you cut?
Oh shit, I didn't even see that question. When'd you
Yes.
pick that?
It's fresh, but I thought it wasn't good.
Oh, is it
So
new?
I
Okay.
cheated. I looked it up right now.
If you had to pick a straw hat to get rid of one, this one's really easy. Jinbei, if we're not counting Jinbei, then Brook. So there we go.
Fuck you.
Yeah. Alright, what about you?
I guess it depends on the context, I would say. Like, if I would say... Because I would get rid of Usopp just because of the emotional impact it would have. I mean, I love Usopp.
Oh, get rid of
Like-
like that. I didn't know you
No,
meant like
I think
kill.
it was just in general.
If it was if it's death, then I would 100% pick Usopp as the best dramatic
Okay.
death. I thought it's
I
like
guess-
erased from the series.
Yeah, maybe. I guess. Like, if it were erased from the series, I would... That's a good question, actually. I would probably go with Chopper.
Chopper. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Because I really like Chopper, but like... I feel like with Chopper, like, he's the only Straw Hats I really feel like has kind of reached his potential, or at least Oda like wrote him a bit into a corner, where it's like, well, he can control his powers, but like he kind of overcame his like emotional struggles. He's just like this fluffy doctor now.
You are.
I'm still like
correct. Mhm. No, you're
yeah,
you're
so
right.
yeah. I feel like with all other Straw Hats, like with like what we said with about Robin earlier, like there's still a lot of potential for future growth. I think Jinbei, just like the thing he represents in the story, like in terms of like racial equality and so on and so forth, and like his role as a like ambassador to Fishman Island, which is a big part of the story, is important. I think Brook's entire backstory might play a role again. With Bing Sake and so on and so forth, and Laboon and the whales and so on and so forth.
But Chopper, I still feel. Well, the one thing is Oda always he gave them each a dream, right? So Chopper does have his dream, which I do think is important at some point in the story. Like,
Yeah,
I
for
do
sure.
think that him having to, like, be able to fulfill what the Doctor Hirulu couldn't.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I do think
Just-
he can grow in that sense. But you are right in that
can.
the main conflict of his character, like him being perceived as a monster, being different,
Yeah,
that
it's
sort of
over.
thing, that has been
Yeah,
most.
and like,
yeah.
I'm also like not saying that I don't like Chopper. Like, I really like Chopper. He's a cool character. I like his design. I think he's like special in a lot of ways as a character from a character design perspective. I just feel like if you cut out Chopper from the story entirely, it would probably, from all the Straw Hats, make the least difference story wise.
Drum Kingdom for me, and especially Chopper's backstory, is like one of my favorite. Chopper's backstory
Same.
is third for me. So to me, cutting
Yeah.
out like One Piece, and I love One Piece's backstories. I think it's like one of its greatest strengths. So to me, I couldn't like cut out like the same way I couldn't cut out like a Nami or Robin backstory. Those are my top three basically. So in my mind, like cutting out Chopper is just impossible. Like it would be like taking out one of my favorite One Piece arcs basically. So in my mind, Chopper's not on the cutting board. I personally like the dynamic he brings to the crew, even though I know a lot of people don't.
Yeah. I mean,
so like yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm not disputing that. Like I said, I really like Chopper. Like I'm just like if I had like if you put a gun to my head and said like
kill, yeah, or not kill, like but eliminate one.
Erase one stride from the story. I think if you took out Chopper, it would make the least like if you had to erase one Straw Hat from every panel he appeared on, and you erase Chopper, like literally erased like with like a marker or something, like it would probably make the least like it would be the least noticeable. I assume, apart from Drum Island, obviously.
I feel that way about Brook, but I guess that's the I don't know. I feel that way about Brook, a little bit that way about Frankie as well, basically, because like. I don't know. I feel like Chopper has been like Brook to me felt like a very much a background character up till Whole Cake Island, I guess. And Whole Cake Island, Oda really stepped up the game with Brook.
Maybe that is my bias also.
I feel like it is a bit of recency bias because I feel like if you look at Chopper throughout the entire, I don't know, it's debatable, I guess. But
and I guess I just have a general bias when it comes to Brook because I'm a fan of like his.
You like Brook
design,
a lot,
like his visual design. I mean, like me personally, I think like Brook's backstory. It does like the first time I saw it, it didn't come off as crazily impactful, but the more often I reread it, like it slowly moved up in like my favorite like backstories to like place 1 or 2, I guess.
Yeah.
Like
I guess I know people love Brook's backstory. I think I've never felt emotionally that hard hit by. Did you read it? Did you watch it first in the anime or the manga?
I saw it first in the anime, I think.
Okay.
No, wait. Yes, I did, because I started with Fishman Island.
I wonder if the anime makes it stronger. It probably does, I assume, by a lot. Oh, but you said when you reread it, you liked it more, so I don't even know then. Yeah.
I mean, I like when you really think about like, because it's not so heavily implied in a way, but when you really think about like him being stuck there like for years and years, like basically surrounded by his like friends rotting away, it's like it's such a harsh, like Robin's backstory is tragic, a lot of like Nami's backstory is tragic, but like they like Brook's backstory is like it's not even based on like cruelty or anything. It's just like based on loneliness, and I feel like that gives it like this vastness, almost like this horror like this like horror-esque feeling.
I 100% agree. So like the way I always say for Brook's backstory is like what you said just now is like if you think about it. So to me, that's the difference between Brook's. So like I'd say if you line up all the backstories objectively, like who had the harshest experience, I think it's arguable that Brook is number one. But for me, it was what I felt. Huh?
You mean from reading the manga? It's not like not necessarily the strongest. I agree with that.
Yeah. So in terms of what I felt, basically while reading it, because it like you can have a story that's not even that. It can be the story of a boy like breaking his favorite toy, but the way that it's executed, for example, can make me sadder than like the story of like.
I guess that's true.
I don't feel sad every time I see Bruce Wayne lose his parents because like it's just executed the same way. Like so for me, like for me, a lot of it is like when it happened. Brook for me was a grown ass man. Maybe that's the difference, I guess. Like to me, Brook was a grown ass man. For me, seeing the kids, Nami, Chopper, Robin, like seeing their situation just hit harder because it felt more like innocence was being shattered. So that's what affected it more for me. Whereas Brook, I was like, that sucks. Yes. No. I'm cheating now. So all three of those I watched in the anime, and then because so I'm cheating. That's not fair, I guess. I'm just a fair
thinking, one. Like how old were we? Like we were pretty young, I think. I mean, like teens or something.
Depends. I was young when I watched early One Piece, basically. So my point, I was in middle schoolish, basically.
I think like when we first saw Brook's backstory, I guess like as a teenager, I guess, whenever it was like early teenager, or I actually don't know how long ago it was, but like we were definitely like underage still, you know. So I guess the story didn't like the first time it just didn't hit home as like you can tell when you're young that like, oh, this is obviously not a nice thing being stuck on the ship, but like you didn't see like anyone like beating them around or like Robin like having to do the dishes day and day and like being treated badly. So you were kind of like, okay, well this is bad, but it's not like you know, like it's not like he's being tortured or anything. But I feel like the older I got, like the more this the concept of his backstory, I guess, like drove.
It has the saddest concept, arguably. I would agree. I think it has the saddest concept, and maybe if I'd watched it in the anime first, and maybe at the point in my life that I'd seen it and stuff, like if I'd seen all that back to back and then also gotten Brook, maybe it would be number one. But for me, it's not. It doesn't hit me as hard as seeing like young Nami crying over her mom dying. You know what I mean? So it's basically that.
I'm just thinking like Brook's backstory to a certain extent isn't even like it's almost a little bit more than just being sad. It's almost a little bit grotesque in a way, you know?
Yes. Okay, I agree, but it's like a deeper sort of like the conceptual
Pain.
tragedy that comes along with it, basically.
And like, you know, like Brook comes off at like, I was very like, to be honest, when I first met Brook, I really disliked him. Like I was really annoyed by his character. I was annoyed by his personality, and I was like, why is this character part of the crew?
Yeah.
And then the longer you think about it, like
the weirdest
how
still, by far.
desperate that person must be for any type of like, obviously he's positive because how long has he waited to like be able to speak to someone ever again, right? So like it gets like a sense of like almost like that's maybe a bit deep, but like almost like Shakespearean tragedy in a way. Like
I think you could throw that, like, I don't know, that seems fair.
Yeah. So I guess it's like, so maybe we've been like arguing from like different like conceptual levels. Like you were more arguing like what has impacted you most in the story, while I was more like what is like from a conceptual level more.
And I 100% agree with that, like thinking about Brook's story basically. But for me, sadness is just what I felt at the time that I read it the first time, basically, and that's So okay, we spent a bit of time on that.
Sorry.
No, I think we're good. You know what? I would get rid of Chopper. No, I'm kidding. I definitely wouldn't. Are we out of questions? Is there any other question? Color scheme. We had that color scheme question.
What color scheme are you most surprised by?
I think I picked it because I had an answer off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure you might not remember this at this point, but like when Sanji's family's color scheme came out, that was a shock to everybody. Everybody had assumed it was Sanji's hair color, but then it revealed, the reveal that it's like literally like pink, green, red, etc. Like that was really weird and off-putting at first, but now it just seems really normal to me. So
I guess for me it would be Shuten Maru because he has pink hair, and that's just like not the way I imagined him to be.
I totally forgot about that. There's been some weird ones in one. Oh, Queen also. Weird color scheme in my mind.
Blonde Queen.
Komurasaki I think was weird. Kaido's dragon. That one I did not like at all.
I do like it now.
The blue?
I didn't like it when it was revealed. Now I do like it.
Are you used to it now? I have a theory personally that, not a theory, but my explanation for it mentally. I know there was a lot of stuff that came out at that time of like, this is what blue dragons represent and stuff like that. To me, my simple interpretation was like, current Yonko, I think the Yonko all have a certain color scheme that is supposed to match them, basically. So you tick off red with Shanks, like black, pink for Big Mom, red for Shanks. So Kaido can't be. My interpretation is that Kaido can't be a repeat of Shanks. Made his blue. That was just my straightforward thought after that came out. I was like, okay.
Didn't think about it that way, but yeah.
I don't know. All right. Do we have any other questions we have marked?
Nope. I think that's good. Should we wrap it up?
Yeah. All right.
Well, everyone, thanks so much for listening. I think this episode better audio quality, better decent length again. I think we touched upon a lot of really interesting points.
Definitely a lot of stuff.
I'm really happy about that. I think we still have more to talk about, but this one was I enjoyed that. It was good talking about all that stuff. As always, if you aren't part of my or Mr. Morj's channel yet, make sure to subscribe, or if you prefer, watch a couple of other videos and then decide whether to subscribe or not. Definitely make sure to support the podcast by leaving us a like if you listen to this on Spotify or iTunes or wherever. Make sure to leave us a review or leave us a like here. Make sure to leave a comment also on your thoughts of things. Help us boost the podcast a little bit, because we're really enjoying making this, and like we would also, as with teching, hopefully next time, we would like to get even more prominent, or also not prominent, but interesting people on the podcast. So that would be great. Otherwise, thanks again to Revujo for our thumbnail. Have I forgotten anything?
Oh, Rodrigo again.
Yes,
I guess thanks, Rodrigo.
Thanks for the amazing theory that now like it's just
we'll
like
never know how it ends.
I think I already like my mind has already, it's so good. My mind has literally already like suppressed it, so I'm not thinking about it too much.
All right.
But it was a really good theory. So we'll keep you updated about that. And otherwise, we talk to you guys in 2 weeks. Thanks so much for listening.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.
Bye bye.